which actually never happened in my case.
I went to a couple shuttle launches. That was impressive.
Yeah, it's not very, even when it goes off on time, there's always something that happens.
Well, Senator Kelly, welcome back. Welcome to Washington.
It's good to be back.
You've been home listening to your constituents over the holidays. What concerns are you bringing from Arizona over the past couple of weeks as we head into the new 119th Congress?
Well, I sit on the Armed Services Committee, which we have a lot of equities in Arizona, a lot of military bases. We've got a lot of national security issues that we're currently focused on. I'm also on the Intelligence Committee. So there's a lot going on, whether it's in China, Europe, the Middle East. We also have a lot of wins in Arizona with regards to the CHIPS and Science Act that passed the last Congress. And all that stuff is now getting implemented. TSMC is building their capacity in Intel, and it's really good paying jobs that you can raise a family on that don't require a 4-year degree. So that's a lot of positive things, but we got to make sure that that's implemented in a smart way. It continues. So we're going to work with the incoming administration on that front, like I have with the Biden administration.
One of the first things the Senate has to do is confirm Donald Trump's nominees.
Yes.
And Armed Services and also Intelligence are some of their nominees. We have some questions about them. Do you have questions about them?
Absolutely. And we're going to see Pete Hegseth in front of the Senate Armed Services Committee, I think on January 14th, on my daughter's birthday. And Tulsi Gabbard in front of the Intelligence Committee. But also there are many other nominees that have to go through this process. We have a role in confirming any president's nominees. I want to make sure we're putting qualified and experienced people into these positions. That is, especially in the ones we already mentioned, that's critical to our safety and our national security.
You were talking about the CHIPS Act, which is quite a lot of money, but also one of the things that Donald Trump has promised is to cut taxes. How do you keep programs like the CHIPS Act, like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and the Defense Department all funded when you're reducing government revenues?
Well, I think it's important that we, focus on middle class folks and working class people with regards to tax cuts. At the same time, in 2017, he provided a huge tax cut for the wealthiest Americans and the biggest corporations. And that results in higher deficits and more debt. That's not the way to run a government. We should be focused on the middle class, bringing down their taxes. The wealthiest Americans can afford to pay more. So that's why I'm looking forward to working with the administration in a bipartisan way to come up with fair tax policy that helps out working class people. And at the same time, we've got a lot of billionaires and multimillionaires in this country that can afford to pay more. So, we can do this in a smart way. It's going to require bipartisanship to do that.
One of the other big issues that Donald Trump has talked about is immigration and his promise to deport millions of people who are living here without proper documents. And Arizona obviously has a long length of border. What are your concerns about the implementation of this promised policy?
Well, a massive deportation program and taking people out of communities is not smart for the future of our country, and it's not fair. I mean, these folks often have children here who are U.S. citizens. At the same time, you're right, we are a border state, and having a secure, orderly process at the border is critical for the future of the state of Arizona. We benefit, by the way, in being a border state. Our economy benefits in our trade relationship with Mexico. It provides good paying jobs in the state of Arizona. But at the same time, we can't have chaos at our border. So we need to, again, work in a bipartisan way. We did this on a border security bill. We worked with Republicans. We got close to the election. Donald Trump killed that bipartisan legislation. We can get back to that. There are a lot of areas where we agree, on what do we need to correctly secure our border, how do we help Border Patrol. These guys have a really hard job. They deserve to be paid more. We need to have more Border Patrol agents at the southern border. We need the infrastructure that Border Patrol wants. My attitude about this has always been to listen to the experts, which are the Border Patrol agents. These guys on the ground that are doing this really hard job every single day, give them what they need to do their job. And we had an agreement. I hope we can get back to some of those things and work with the administration in a bipartisan way to get that stuff done.
Past couple days, we've had the tragedy in Las Vegas, the tragedy in New Orleans. What do you think? Can the Congress do anything about these unpredictable attacks?
Well, we can. I mean, as I said on the Senate Intelligence Committee, we talk about this stuff a lot. You know, they work to try to identify these criminals, these bad actors, these terrorist organizations, to make these connections ahead of time and make sure these kind of things don't happen. In this case, it did happen, and it's tragic. You know, I personally, have, lived through, as a family member, my wife, gone through this kind of, violent attack. Really feel for these families and those communities that lost all these individuals. We got to stay on top of it. We've got to continue to work to try to, figure out, who is getting, turned, in their direction by organizations like ISIS, and try to prevent these things before they happen.
And last question. Last Sunday, we sadly lost President Carter. His state funeral is coming up. What did he mean to you and to the people of Arizona?
Well, first of all, for me personally, he was a Navy guy. Went to the Naval Academy, was a submarine officer, was a Navy pilot. But I really, looked up to him, as a naval officer, and as a president. I was really young when he was president, so I don't remember much about his administration. But he was a very patriotic American, and in his post-presidency, he had the longest post-presidency of any American president. First former president to make it to 100 years old, and all the good that he did, not only while he was president, but afterwards, I think is something we all need to recognize.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.